Welcome in, everyone. It's Tammy Mastroberte with Elevated Existence. Joining me today is best-selling Hay House author Radleigh Valentine. He is an author, an intuitive, a speaker, and he actually began sort of exhibiting the unusual ability of knowing things that he should not know as early as age 5. But like so many people, sort of suppressed that, went on to become a certified public accountant, complete opposite of that, but eventually found his way back to his intuitive side, began working with tarot and oracle cards, and now he works to teach everybody out there how to kind of communicate with the divine and make their life and their manifestations and everyday life more magical. So he's the author of the book, How to Be Your Own Genie, Manifesting the Magical Life You Were Born to Live. And his newest book, Compendium of Magical Things, Communicating with the Divine to Create the Life of Your Dreams, which offers it's like an encyclopedia on all of the ways that we can utilize in our life, all of the tools that we can utilize in our life to connect with the divine, our angels, our guides, etc. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. So welcome, Radley, into today's talk.
Hi.
It's great to have you here. So I was explaining a little bit about your new book. So it really is this collection of information to really help people understand all the different ways that they can utilize, all the different tools they can utilize to communicate with the divine, to get answers. And sort of, they can take your book and sort of delve into any one of them based on sort of the way you laid it out. So my first question is, what was it that sort of drove you down this path of saying, you know what, I'm going to investigate things that I've never even done, right? Because I know, tarot and oracle cards and angels were in your wheelhouse, but there were so many other things that you sort of dove into. What was it that made you say, I need to investigate all of this and then put this out there for people?
Well, I think it was definitely a carryover from my work with tarot. Because for people who don't know, I've written so far 5 tarot decks. I've got 2 more in the works. And, in tarot, there was a lot of mystique around it and fear, and people would be like, oh, I like angel cards, but tarot scares me. And, and I'm like, okay, they're the same. In general, and from the grandest scheme of things, they're pieces of paper that you are divining intuitive information from. Same thing. So and so when I started working with tarot, what I wanted to do was I wanted to make it not scary, demystify it, not water it down per se, but definitely go in and say, okay, death card, we don't really need to scare people half to death. We don't need a guy laying face down in a pool of blood with 10 swords in his back just to say this situation is over. We can do this a little kinder and gentler.
Right.
With still leaving the depth and breadth of tarot in there. So as I kept doing all these tarot decks and an oracle card deck, it did occur to me, it's like, you know what? It's like there's so many other things that people are afraid of. It's like people are afraid of runes, and people are, not necessarily afraid of the I-Ching, but definitely sort of intimidated by the I-Ching. And so I was like, well, why can't we do sort of the same thing? And it's actually an interesting little tidbit for your viewers, is the first contract that I signed after Angel Tarot Cards, which was my first contract with Hay House, was for the Compendium of Magical Things. But the tarot just so took over, and I kind of felt like I just didn't have time to do such massive research, and so Compendium just kept getting shoved aside. And
oh, wow.
people really wanted to know, okay, you went from being a CPA to being a spiritual teacher at Hay House. How'd you do that? And so that's how Genie kind of got pushed up. But then we sort of kind of came around, my team and I, where we were like, it's time. And we're going to lock you in a place and not let you out until you write Compendium. And it was an amazing, fascinating journey. I mean, just so incredible how I could, you know, get a message from my tarot cards and then get the exact same message from the Lenormand, and then turn around and get the exact same message from the runes and the exact same message from the I-Ching. And the head of my team, her name is Sherry. She's the manager of miracles for my company. And, you know, I would just call her and go, oh my God. And so that's how Compendium sort of came around.
Yes. And I think the timing of it is perfect, because I feel like more people are looking to delve into utilizing these tools. And like you said, sometimes there is a fear, like of, especially of the tarot for some reason. I never had that. I actually started with the tarot and then went to oracle cards. But what can you share with people about the fear of, you know, bringing in negativity, or the fear of, you know, this isn't something I should be using, you know, or people being more comfortable with an oracle card versus something else? What kind of advice can you offer to people about communicating with the divine to sort of take that fear out of it for them?
Yeah, well, I mean, first of all, it's history. I mean, you know, it's like our tarot cards, Tammy, you know, your tarot cards, my tarot cards. It's like, you know, I thought they were old at 600 years. You know, this other stuff makes tarot look like it just came out last week by
Yes.
Hasbro, you know? and so, and, and so some of this stuff is really ancient. And for example, the runes have got, you know, it's a gory story, you know, about how the runes were created and gods hanging from trees until they die and blah, blah. And, you know, and so all of that stuff, I think that in ancient times, we, in order to understand concepts, had these stories, these legends, these myths, and they were very often gory and challenging and scary, because life was gory and challenging and scary, and that's how people spoke. And so those things, I think, are part of it. I'm sorry, but I think part of the reason people are afraid of tarot is Hollywood. I mean, come on. It's like, when was the last time you ever saw a tarot card pulled on a television show, on a movie, anywhere where it wasn't death or, right. You know, the tower? You know, it's something melodramatic, which, by the way, death doesn't mean death anyway. So why are we calling it that? And so I think that those kinds of things are part of it. I think that religion has a really big part to play. I'm not into religion. Sorry, just not. None of them, because I think so many of them are fear-based.
Yes.
They're fear-based, and they're designed to corral the masses into doing what a small amount of people say to do. Mm-hmm. And so they fear them into, don't do this, don't do that.
Right.
And really, you know, it's like these beautiful ways, I call them languages of the divine. These beautiful languages of the divine are of the divine. And it's like, the universe does not care how you speak to it. It doesn't care.
Yeah.
It just cares that you do. So pick your language, whichever one you want, go for it. Be multilingual. That's great too.
Yeah. Right.
Right?
Yes. So how do you recommend people sort of decide which language is right for them? Do they go to the runes? Do they start with oracle cards? Is there an area that is easier to start with than something else, or should people just go with what resonates with them?
Well, I wrote the book so that the chapters were in a particular order on purpose. Okay. And so each one sort of lays the groundwork for the next one. And so I started with angels because I'm angel boy, and I have wings behind me, right? So it's like the angels were, you know, that was my first thing, was angels. And so I started with that because people don't have a lot of fear around angels. It's very unusual to find somebody that's afraid of angels because they're in every major belief system on planet Earth.
Right.
And so, and religions aren't trying to talk you out of them. They're like going, oh yeah, you have angels, that's cool.
Right.
So I started there, and I started there because it's like, okay, so let's start with something that's likely to not frighten people, and also, but does open up your intuition, does start you to communicate with the messengers of the divine. It does start that little whole thing. And then I went to fairies, and then I went to oracle cards, which are, you know, it's so funny. I wish I had angel tarot cards laying here. Oh wait, so I don't. But anyway, when angel tarot cards first came out, my Sherry, my manager of miracles, many years ago, she was like, you know, I love this deck, but I'm just still slightly scared. And so I took a piece of tape and I put it over the word tarot so that it said angel cards. And I said, are you scared now? And she's like, no. I'm like,
oh my gosh.
All right, it's just the word.
Right.
It's
right.
the word. And so, and then slowly we went deeper and deeper and deeper into things, and hopefully that the reader, as the reader goes through the book, because I do caution the reader at the first of the book, it's like you're gonna feel tempted to hop around.
Right.
Try not to.
Right.
Go in order. But you know, hopefully that as the reader goes through chapter over chapter over chapter, they're losing their fears step by step by step. And by the time they get to runes, they're like, oh, whatever. Show me how this works.
Yes. Right. Right.
And so I think, you know, I'm not, of course, the compendium was written as a way for people to learn all these different languages. And keep in mind, it's like, this is by no means every way.
Right.
That would be the encyclopedia of magical things, right? But with compendium, it's like, hopefully that something will just ring your bell. I mean, you know, angels rang my bell right up front. And one of my first teachers, because I grew up in the Southeast United States. When I was a kid, there was no one to teach me, period. But there was the internet.
Yes.
And there were AOL chat rooms. And there was one called Angel Speak. And these people became my teachers. But one of them's name was Carla, and she was into tarot as well as angels. And so when I finally met her, she's got these cards, and I'm like, what are these? I want these. How do I get these?
Oh my God.
But what I did notice, you know, was that, you know, I got Rider Waite, and I'm like, okay, this is scary. I don't like this.
Yes.
And so I had to buy deck after deck after deck until I found one where I was like, okay, now I'm happy. And I read from the Connolly Tarot for a decade until I started learning from other decks that were not so intense, let's call it.
Yes. Yes.
Started to come out.
Yes.
And so I think that if you just start to study things, something's just going to ring your bell. You're going to pick up a pendulum and you're going to go, I love this.
Yes.
Do this. Or if you're really deep, I mean, deep, 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 and you really want the deepest possible visions of what is going on in your life, I-Ching is going to rock your world.
Yeah.
It is.
But my interpretation of runes, I-Ching, and even the Lenormand, if I'm saying that correctly. And I have the Lenormand. I tried it once and I was like, what? I don't know what's going on. And then I stopped.
Yeah,
so
it's not my thing.
Right. So that's what I was going to say. So it seems like as you were sort of going through, there are some ways that require a little more effort and work to understand things, and that's what you found with some of it, correct?
Absolutely. And I tried to, in essence, place the chapters almost in order of difficulty.
Yes, that's what it seems like. Yes.
Just because it's like, like for example, I really love astrology. I'm really into astrology, but astrology is very multidimensional, very complicated, and so trying to make it in such a way that people could understand it and not just go running from the room screaming was a challenge. And I hope I did it. I hope I did it for people so that they won't just stop halfway through the chapter and go, ugh, never mind. But
Right.
you know what? Even if you do get halfway through the chapter and go, ugh, then that you learned something. You
Right.
learned this is not my language. Now it might become my language. I
Right.
might 3 years from now suddenly get bitten by the astro bug and go, I'm going to learn this now.
Yes.
There's so much to be said. One of the things that I like to tell people is if in a lecture or a class that I'm teaching, what I say totally resonates with you, you totally love it, it makes perfect sense, yay, then yay. If what I say absolutely does not resonate with you, you don't get it, and you don't agree with it, yay, because you learned something.
Right.
You are closer to finding your perfect divine path
Hmm.
because you learned that that thing that Radley said ain't for you.
Right. That's
Right?
true. Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny because I sort of was going through the book, like there are things that I knew about, but the way that you explain them sort of makes them understandable to anyone, right? So like the runes or the I-Ching, which are a little more complicated,
Right.
you sort of lay it out in a way that people who might resonate with it can feel like, oh, I can do that. I can probably do this. This isn't as difficult. And like even you even talk about numerology, and I love numerology. I don't do it myself, but I've gone to
Yeah.
numerologists, and it's
Yeah.
dead on accurate, and it's
Yeah.
unbelievable. I'm not a math person, so it's not my thing. But that's exactly it. And what I love about it, and somewhere in the book you had said that, and you mentioned it here also, that what was fascinating to you is if you took these different tools and asked the similar things, you were getting the same answer.
It was
And
magic.
that, I think, is what is the most important thing about it, is that, like I said, numerology is accurate. That's just, numbers aren't my thing. I'm an English major, right? That was my thing. That was not it. So, but I love the fact that no matter which tool you use, even if you go to 3 different ones and you're asking the same thing, they're all going to lead you to the same place.
Yes. And that was the most magical part of the journey of writing this book. And writing this book was definitely a journey.
Mm,
And but that was the most magical thing that happened throughout, and it would just totally just blow my mind. I would have to call people and go, oh my god, I mean,
yeah.
remember what the runes said? Well, let me read you the I-Ching. and
Right.
and one of the things that I hope was really clear is that I don't cover absolutely everything about any of these languages of the divine, because
Right.
then again it would be again the encyclopedia of compendium things,
Yes.
and I would have been basically denying the purpose of the book by making everything so hard and so complicated. If I started talking about progressions in astrology, people would be throwing the book away. I mean, it's like you can't do all of it. So it's literally meant to be like a buffet.
Yes.
It's a tasting buffet.
Yes.
And you go to the buffet, and are there more complicated dishes? Absolutely. Can you order them a la carte? Absolutely. But here, we're just getting a tasting
Mhm.
so that you can understand the basic concepts. And then, how many books are there on astrology?
Oh, sure.
8,427,392. I mean, the ability to study anything is infinite.
Yes.
You're never, I just don't think that you ever get to the place where you're like, okay, well, there's just nothing else to know.
Yes.
So, but if
Yeah.
there is, pick a new language.
Right. Right. So another piece that there's a section of the book where you sort of talk about preparation and using these tools, and
Yeah.
you talk about clearing the energy of them before you use them. And then also, obviously, if you're doing a reading with someone else and their energy is involved, you should be cleansing them. So can you talk a little bit about cleansing, whether we're talking about cards, we're talking about a pendulum, you know, what can you share with people about sort of how they can go about cleansing these tools that they're using and why it's so important?
Yeah, well, I mean, first of all, these tools are little energy collectors, all right? They're just out there going bzzz, and touching the divine and touching source and but also touching the divine that is within ourselves and the divine within someone else that we might be doing a reading for. And you know, this is a big little thing of controversy. It's like, okay, for example, tarot cards, it's like, do I let the client touch my cards? Well, that's your call. I mean, you know, it's like some people believe that if the client touches the cards, their energy is in the cards and they're going to get a better reading. Not my experience, because I just believe that the magic is within us. It's not within the cards. The magic is in us. Yeah. The cards are magical because millions and millions and millions of people believe in them. And that creates this well-worn path through the forest of the divine. Mm-hmm. And so if you're going to let people touch your cards, I think you should clear them. And clearing them, I go through that in the book. You know, it's basically just a matter of white light energy out of the cards, touching every single card to reset it, and then holding it over your heart, thinking of energy passing through your heart into the cards and saying a prayer, something like, Mother, Father, God, please bless and protect these cards. Let the messages that I receive be of value, be of purpose, be of meaning. Let them really be of make a difference in people's lives. Let them be of value. Let me know the words of Spirit, so to convey the words of Spirit in such a way as to enlighten, to inspire, and to heal. How many millions of times do you think I've said that? So there's that. You mentioned a pendulum. A lot of people would use sage to clear a pendulum, or put the pendulum in salt, making sure that if your pendulum is made of a crystal that isn't sensitive to salt, no. We might want to put it out in the moonlight under a full moon, particularly if it's in an auspicious one. The I-Ching doesn't require a clearing per se. Runes, the same sort of thing. My runes are made out of rose quartz, and so you know, I could put them out in the moon and they'd really love that, and you can clear them also with sage. But keeping you want to keep your tool clear, because if you're letting people touch the cards and their energy is in the cards, then you could do a reading for the next client and get all kinds of wacky stuff. Right. Coming out, or you do a reading for yourself and you're getting all kinds of wacky stuff, you know, like, here's Radley, I'm doing a reading, and oh, the cards say I'm pregnant. No, not really. Clear the cards.
Right. Oh my gosh. Yes. And the other thing that you talk about that I like too is sort of saying a prayer before each use, or before. Yeah. So whether you're doing this something for yourself or you're doing it for someone else, just sort of centering yourself and saying a prayer. So you sort of mentioned, you just did the prayer, you know, a prayer that you do. So, so why is this important? Is that just sort of centering yourself and calling in source?
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it grounds us. I think it pushes out the external world. It puts us in a place of presence with ourself and with source. And you know, because I work with angels so much, I bring in my angels. I bring in specific angels that have to do with doing readings, if I'm doing readings, specific angels if I'm writing a project. And so I think it's like you said, it centers us, it prepares us, it opens us up, because I feel like in this crazy world that we're living in right now, there's a real desire to feel protected, a real desire to close ourselves off. Yeah. And when we close ourselves off, our connection to the divine is not as clear. It's not as clear. And so And that's why I love signs and synchronicities and stuff like that. That's why I love that stuff so much.
Yes.
Because that's the universe knocking on the door.
Right.
Hi, you forgot us.
Yes.
Here's a white feather.
Exactly. um, so here I think is a question that a lot of people have, and you do address this in the book also. Whether we're working with the pendulum, whether we're working with oracle cards, the tarot, whatever sort of tool we're using to initiate this communication, how do we know how to ask the question, or what questions we should be asking, or how we should be phrasing these questions? I get that from people all the time. Well, what are you asking? What do you say? You know, what do I have to say? So can you share a little bit about how to form the question, and does it differ depending on the tool that you're using?
Ooh, now, yes. So doing this in reverse order, because no one's ever asked me that. So that's
Okay.
really interesting. So here's what I would say to that. I just don't think it makes any sense whatsoever to go to the I-Ching, which is this deep, subconscious, amazing, powerful, divining methodology for getting informations that are incredibly esoteric or existential almost in nature. You're not going to go to the I-Ching and say, should I buy the red car or the blue car? Right?
Yeah.
Just, no.
Right.
No. You might go to the I-Ching and say, I hate my life. I feel off task. I feel completely off purpose. What do I need? What am I going to do? What am I going to do with my life? The I-Ching has plenty to say.
Yeah.
That's a difficult question for a pendulum to answer.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
It's just not going to be able to do it. So your nature of, do you ask a question a different way depending on the language? I would say certain questions work with certain languages that do not work with other languages. So that's how I'm going to answer that question.
Okay.
How to create a question? Yeah, it really matters. I teach my students that ask a vague question, get a vague answer. Ask a detailed question, get a detailed answer. And you also do have to pay attention to the language that you're working with. For questions that are, and should I move to Chicago and marry Bobby? No.
Right.
Two questions.
Right.
Should I buy the red car or the blue car? Also not so great. And so I'm all for asking, should I buy the red car or the blue car? Great, do that. But first ask the question, should I buy the red car? And see what answer you get. Should I buy the blue car? See what answer you get. You're likely to get, at least one of them that is way better than the other. Like, for example, if it's a tarot card, the Chariot is a great card for buying a car.
Right, right.
Okay, that's fantastic. But you might also get Temperance, all right? Well, it's not bad.
Yeah.
It's not very fun.
Right, right.
It's not as fun as the Chariot.
Right.
So, or you could get, Three of Swords. You're going to cry the whole time you own this car.
Right, right.
So I think that is very important. I think just spit it out. I mean, it's like, don't beat around the bush with your questions. It's like, I'm fine with, what do the cards want me to know today? I'm fine with that. That's fine. And I'm especially, I had a friend who used to, the last question, she read tarot cards, and the last question she would do for every single client was, God called, I missed the call, what was the message?
Oh, I like that.
Isn't that nice?
Yes.
Unfortunately, she's no longer with us. She's in spirit, reading tarot cards for angels, no doubt. But it was a great way to end a session. So I'm all fine with all of that. I'm even fine with the first question being, let's just see what comes up. Because that's establishing this relationship. It's establishing a connection. But after that, no more vague stuff. Why are you here?
Yeah, right.
Why are you here? What are we here to talk about? What is the question? What do you really want to know?
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. And the other tip that you give in the book is when you're first sort of working with these tools, to do it first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
Which I like, because I feel like we're more open in the morning. Is that why?
We're more open. We haven't been distracted by daily life yet. We have not yet shifted into, okay, I've got to get the kids to school. I've got to get them out of bed. Bobby's not going to get out of bed. I got to get him out of bed. What is he even going to wear? I need to make their lunch. I've got this meeting at 9 a.m. We haven't gotten into that yet. And so, and that's also here. Right? And you know, you get information here. They're claircognizant people, me.
Right.
So we get information here. But I just feel like the first thing in the morning is this quiet time, hopefully, where it's like if you just get up a little early. I get up at 4:30 a.m. Yeah, I know, bonkers. But you know, at 4:30 p.m. I'm toast. Yeah. But at 4:30 a.m., you know, it's like I get so much done before my husband even thinks about getting out of bed, right?
Right.
It's like, okay, I finished the tarot deck. Good morning.
Oh my gosh.
And so I feel like not only are we really open to the messages from the divine, I feel like we're open to our own creativity. I feel like we're open to our own higher self. And all that stuff can kind of just come through. Now, obviously, there are people who are going to be the reverse. You know, they're night people. God bless them. But there are people who get everything done at 1 a.m. And as the day winds down, as they go to prepare for sleep and slumber, that might be a great time for them. Maybe. You know, it's like, well, there's 7.5 billion people on the planet. Everything that could possibly exist does.
Yeah.
So these are, but I think morning works best.
Yes. And the other piece that I found, you know, was in each chapter that I thought was interesting, especially since you wrote a book on manifesting and all of that, is in each chapter you sort of share how you can manifest using these tools. Can you explain to people sort of how that would work? How can we use these cards in our lives to bring about what we want?
Oh yeah, totally. In fact, I teach this in my Certified Angel Tarot Reader course, how to manifest with tarot cards. And so, especially if you're really proficient with tarot cards or something like that, one of the things that I tell people is create your own reading. Create the reading that you would love to get more than anything in the world. Okay? Just go through the cards, and you can do I did it with a Celtic cross on a big piece of white poster board. And, you know, and it's like healing in the past and hey, how's contract in the future? And, you know, and so you just sort of create this thing and then take a picture of it, right? And make it your background on your phone, or print it out and put it all over the house. But you're really focusing on that reading is what's coming for me. Because one of the things that and we're circling back to fear a little bit here, is that one of the reasons that people get scared of tarot cards or any language of the divine is they think, oh my God, what if it's something bad? You know, it's like, well, if it's something bad, change what you're doing. Right. Because none of this is fated. We all have free will. Any reading is the most likely scenario of where you're headed. Right. At any given moment. You don't like it, change what you're doing. And so this whole with the tarot cards of creating your own reading, that's really you just basically saying, dear source, this is what we're going to create together, is
Yeah.
that. um, um, Pendulums are great for helping you to manifest, because one of the things that you can do is take a pendulum, and once you're proficient with it, is if there's something in particular that you're wanting to manifest, just start thinking about it, and allow the pendulum to move in the direction that is yes for you. And that energy is going to, it might take a minute, but the pendulum is just going to speed up and speed up and speed up, and you're manifesting, you're throwing energy in every direction
Mm.
into the universe of, this is what I want to create. And so for every single one of, and obviously astrology and numerology, I mean, I have a new website going up, and do you think I didn't find out what the most auspicious date for my website to go up was before? I mean, it's almost done, and we're just sitting here going, waiting for that date.
Oh my gosh, yes.
So, you know, you can use astrology and numerology to help you to manifest what you want through knowledge, by knowing this is a really bad time to launch a website, and this is a really good time. And all of those things are also going to be individual. They're very individual things. You know, I'm actually going to launch my website during Mercury retrograde.
Oh my gosh.
But I'm doing it because Jupiter is kissing Venus, and all kinds of happy things are happening in conjunction with my personal chart, where my fantastic astrologer, Kelly Surtees, you might have heard of Kelly Surtees, but Kelly was like, I don't care that it's Mercury retrograde. This is so great and so fantastic and so beautiful. Launch it, baby.
Yes. Yes.
So that's, under normal circumstances, I would have never in a million years. I would have been like, no, 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 no. So knowledge is power in manifesting the things you want to get out of your life too.
Yes, yes. No, it makes sense because I actually am getting married in October, and I went to a numerologist to try and figure out, do I change my name? Do I hyphenate my name? What's the best, energy of the name so that I can decide what I want to do? Because like you said, it's you can use these tools to know what is the best energy that I could be using. What is the best date for me to do something?
Right.
So yeah, I love that.
Lee and I went to Kelly to find out, okay, we're getting married, and that marriage is a birth, right?
Yeah.
It's a birth.
Mm-hmm.
So, we're like, okay, Kelly, we're getting married, and she literally wanted everything down to the address of the place.
Oh,
and
wow.
she was like, you're getting married on November 6th between noon and noon 30.
Right.
And it was like, and the wedding was perfect. I mean, it was just like, it was perfect. And we literally, so yeah, it's like, you set a date for things using astrology, like numerology. You're very wise because you are bringing whole new energy into your life.
Yes.
With this name.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And luckily all the different ones were good, but there was one that was better than, the rest. And so then that's what I decided. And I also want to just mention the pendulum, because I think some people are intimidated by the pendulum. Oh. I love my pendulum. Love, love, love my pendulum. So I want to ask, because some people hear, okay, you can use the pendulum, and you talk about this, you can use the pendulum to tap into the subconscious mind. Yeah. And you can also use the pendulum to sort of communicate with your angels or tap into sort of the divine mind. Is there a difference when you're using it? And what are some of the questions you could ask with it? Can you ask your angels or your guides questions with it, as well as sort of maybe tapping into what's right for you by tapping into that subconscious?
See, I mean, could you use a pendulum to ask your angels questions? Sure. I mean, I don't know if that necessarily would have occurred to me, because
Hmm.
I really do feel like the pendulum is it's us. It's
Yes.
really into our subconscious. It's our divine self. It's really going that way. So, but could you say, use a pendulum and say, "Dear Archangel Raphael, what, and will I heal from this quickly?" Then sure, because angels are always going to step in and help, and so you're going to get that angelic touch to it as a part of it.
Mhm.
But if you're going to do that, just go to the angels in the first place.
Right.
So I kind of don't. I kind of probably wouldn't do that. I
Hmm.
The pendulum, I really do think it's like it just knows stuff that our subconscious knows. It knows stuff that our divine self knows, and
Yes.
we're in between that. We're here in this little foggy little earth thing that we're doing that for some reason we think is a fantastic idea when we're on the other side.
Right.
And we get here like,
Yes.
I had a teacher once who used to say that they tempt us with pizza and chocolate.
Yes.
That pizza and chocolate only exist on the earth plane, and that's the only way they get people here.
Yes. Oh my
I
God.
really think that's true. I really do think that when we get back to the other side, we feel like we were on this exciting, amazing roller coaster ride, and we just get right back in the queue.
Yes.
That's what I think. Um, so yeah, I think that yeah, that's what I think about pendulums, and I think pendulums are great because pendulums are just you know I mean, you're just carrying this around. It's in your pocket.
Right. Right.
It's in your pocket. It's in your purse. It's in your glove box. It's like this. I mean, it's tarot cards I love with all of my heart, but I'm not going to pull them out at the grocery store, and right. But this, you can just kind of go, is this a good food for me to be eating right now? You just look around, make sure no one's looking, and you find out, okay, this is
Yes.
good food for me right now, or not
Yes.
too much.
Yes. Yes. I have one in my kitchen. I have one in my bedroom, and I have one in my office. So I love my pendulum.
I love that. And some people have different pendulums for different purposes.
Yeah.
There's the pendulum for finding stuff. There's
Right.
the pendulum for, yes, no questions. There's the pendulum for give me guidance. I mean, different people have different pendulums. I've had this one for 40 forevers.
Oh wow.
And then I just recently got, where'd it go? I can't find it. Oh well, can't find anything today. But anyway, I just recently got a new one from a local metaphysical bookstore that's very kind to me, and so a place where I speak a lot and stuff. And I'm super excited about it. That's why I can't find it. It's here somewhere.
Oh my gosh. So I want to end by asking how can people find more information about you, and do you have anything coming up that you want to tell people about?
Oh gosh. So 2019 is do you do you ever do the whole thing where you've got a word for the year?
Yes.
Word. Okay. 2019 is fly for me.
Oh, nice.
I never get off the plane. So so first of all, you can find me at radleighvalentine.com. Very shortly, there's going to be just a landing page for the new website, more to come. You can find me facebook.com/radleighvalentine. I'm on Instagram, YouTube, traveling. I'm going to be all over the place. I'm speaking at Omega. I'm speaking at Kripalu. I'm speaking at 1440 Multiverse. This year, I will be speaking at Angle Congress in Salzburg. I'll be in Hamburg. I'll be in Ireland. I will be in Texas. I'll be in California twice, Chicago at the Infinity Foundation, Denver. And a lot of these places, I'm teaching my new Angel Oracle Certification course.
Oh,
so
nice.
You want to talk to your angels? This is it, baby. Come talk to the angels with Uncle Rad.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for being here. Congratulations again on the new book. I love it. I love all the information, and I appreciate all the research you put into it to be able to put it out there for everybody. So thank you so much, and thank you to our audience for watching as well.